For the first time in 3 years, executives from the global reinsurance industry are gathering in person for the Rendez-Vous de Septembre in Monte Carlo. They'll discuss the state of the market and formulate their plans for the coming year. But what are the issues that will help shape their thoughts? I'm Richard Banks with AM Best TV, and I'm joined now by Jérôme Haegeli, Group Chief Economist at Swiss Re. Jérôme, welcome.
Thanks, Rich.
So, Jérôme, it's a very different landscape since the industry last met in Monte Carlo. How are people approaching the rendezvous this year?
First of all, I think all attendants are going to be really looking forward to meet each other again in person. I mean, as you said, this is the first time in 2019, so that I think makes it extremely special. Second, let's be clear, probably there have been rarely years like this, 2022, or its history, this super long history of Monte Carlo, where the complexity and uncertainty has been so high. So I think there's going to be a lot to discuss at the rendezvous about how is the global economy doing, how an insurance market coping with it, and what can we expect next.
So lots of industry focus on the economic situation, as you say, and the challenges that it poses. So tell us a little bit about the current conditions, and tell us a little bit about perhaps the opportunities that the insurance industry can generate from those challenges.
Yeah, maybe first on the current conditions on the economic front. We do expect inflationary recessions, and with inflationary recessions, we mean inflation remaining higher than normal, higher than historical averages, and quite much so, coupled with growth contraction. This happening over the next 12 to 18 months for key economies. So inflation recession means more pressure points. And this is definitely not a positive environment, extremely complex environment, both obviously for our society to cope in, especially here in Europe when you think about the energy crisis, but then also with low income countries when you think about the food crisis that is happening at the same time. And at the same time, we have multiple shocks. It's not just food and energy. It's also supply chain risks that we have. So it's extremely uncertain and a time for crisis in terms of economic environment. And in this environment, actually, I do believe that the insurance industry can add a lot of value. I don't just believe it. I'm really 100% certain about that. We are agents of resilience, and we need to improve economic resilience. And with that, I mean the shock absorption capacity of our economy. If you think of each part of these shocks, food, energy, or supply, we are part of the solution. And I think that makes us super unique of any other private sector industry. So there are lots of opportunities, even though the environment is extremely challenging.
Agents of resilience, it's a great term. Tell us a little bit about the specific areas where insurers and reinsurers can add some of that value and provide that resilience.
Thank you, Richard. We just published now for the Monte Carlo our special sigma, which is about maintaining resilience in P&C markets. And there we look at the food price shock. There we believe agro-insurance, which is actually underrepresented. It will continue to grow, and it's not a magic bullet, but it can make a difference. 80 billion in terms of insurance market premiums is probably going to come our way for the industry over the next 10 years, and it can make a difference. So that's point number one. Point number two, supply chain changes, be it friendshoring or onshoring, it's going to look different. The effect on economic growth might be marginal, but the mix of who the winners are and who could lose from a country perspective, it's going to look different. And this is also additional complexity for the insurance industry. But one thing is clear, commercial insurance will, in our view, be much more in demand. And according to our estimates, there's quite a pickup in growth for commercial insurance to be expected. And third is energy crisis. Energy crisis, it comes together with greening our economies. We cannot solve the energy crisis without remaining or not, I shouldn't say remaining because we are off track, but getting back on track on the path of a net zero economy for 2050. And our Sigma research we just published for the Monte Carlo shows actually that we expect a doubling of the insurance market premiums coming from renewable investments. So that's positive news for the renewable energy. We need it, but we also need to be realistic. We need more, and we also need to be realistic. The transition path to a net zero economy is extremely challenging, but it cannot happen without greening our economy.
So insurers as agents of resilience, how resilient is the insurance and the reinsurance sector itself? How attractive is it to investors, given the background, the economic background that it's facing?
Well, a few points. First of all, if you look at stock market prices, you see actually that the beta of the insurance industry sector, it is better than for if you compare it to other financial market sectors. So it shows that actually investors differentiate and put value to the insurance industry, even in these challenging times. I'm talking here about equity market prices. Second, obviously, with interest rate increases, you also see that the cost of capital is increasing. And third, if you look at the insurance market capitalization or shareholders' equity and look at it from a regulatory perspective, solvency capital, we are extremely well capitalized in an industry. So for sure, this 2022 and COVID, there were earnings events, but not capital events. So our industry is extremely strong. And I think that's also extremely important because there is a multitude of crises and we need to improve resilience. We are agents of resilience, and insurance is part of the solutions. So it's good news that even though it's an extremely challenging environment, and we see it in the earnings results of the insurance industry for the first half of this year, we are extremely well capitalized as well. That's good news for the future in terms of what we need to tackle and these multiple shocks happening at the same time.
So you talked a good deal there about energy and about greening. To what degree is the sustainability strategy challenged by some of the current economic situations and geopolitical situations?
Richard, as you say, it's being challenged. No question about that. But for me, energy security and sustainability, meaning net zero economy, that's just the other side of the coin. And you cannot have energy security if you're not on the path for net zero economy. And if you get back on a path of net zero, our economy, making sure that we are on that path for the Paris Agreement and that we are not reliant on fossil fuel alone, I think that's the best answer for the medium and longer term outlook for energy security. Obviously, short term, we need to manage the situation as it is. And that demands a lot of complexity from all of us and especially also from our policymakers around the world.
Jérôme, fascinating insights there. A huge deal for people to digest and also to think about as they prepare for their discussions in Monte Carlo. Thank you very much indeed for your time today.
Thank you very much, Richard.
For more coverage of the Monte Carlo Rendezvous and a host of related insight, visit ambest.com. For AM Best TV, I'm Richard Banks.